So firstly, a quick summary about OCA. Some of you might know Ovarian Cancer Action quite well already, but for those who don't, Ovarian Cancer Action was founded in 2005 to raise awareness, to fund much needed research, and to give a voice to all those affected by the disease. And we've been working ever since, driven by a clear vision, a world where no woman dies of ovarian cancer. We're here following two routes to achieve the change: awareness raising and scientific research. The biggest impact we can make comes from our main area of focus, scientific research. Since 2006, Ovarian Cancer Action has funded £12.3 million of research projects, more than any other ovarian cancer charity in the UK. And we've opened the Ovarian Cancer Action Research Centre, OCARC, Europe's first ever centre dedicated to ovarian cancer research. And we continue to run our HHNT International Forum, which has been bringing together the world's leading scientists to determine research priorities around the globe since 1987. Thanks to continuing generosity of our supporters, we're now committed to funding the next generation of research and to accelerating progress in three main areas, which are preventing the disease, diagnosing it early, and developing effective, personalised treatments. We believe this approach will help more women to survive ovarian cancer than ever before. So we fund research that focuses on these areas, and the main aim of this is to help transform how long and how well a woman will live. Here are some of our fantastic researchers, and they are all so great to work with and always willing to help us out with whatever we need, whether that's doing webinars for our supporters, media interviews, or fundraising activities for us. And also they give us a lot of advice with their expertise and scientific backgrounds. And our researchers are really great because they understand the benefit of involving patients in their work. So the term patient involvement can be interpreted in different ways. Commonly, the public and researchers can confuse public involvement with public participation, which it's not. Public and patient involvement is including the public in the development and carrying out of research. So researchers may get in touch with us asking for help with our research network as they want to recruit them into their research project, and I have to let them know this is not what the research network is for. It's for involving them directly in the development and of a project and keeping involved with the progress of that project. Sometimes they're involved as co-applicants or members of project steering groups, or they might be involved in the engagement side, which is disseminating the science from the research to the general public to make sure it's relevant and it targets the right people that it needs to. And our research network is made up of over 100 fantastic volunteers who have or have had ovarian cancer or have the BRCA mutation. They sign up to join the network with an interest to get involved with the research side of things, and they use their expertise by experience to help us. They do not need to have any sort of scientific background to be part of the network. Each of their personal backgrounds and experience, and even like the experience of their careers, can be very useful. So for example, in the past, for a job interview, for a past job I had, a research volunteer was included in the interview and asking me questions. And I thought this was absolutely fantastic. And she happened to have a background in recruitment. And after I was hired, I got to know her a bit better, and we got to work more closely together on more projects where I used her expertise in recruitment to help me. And she helped interview researchers as well who were asking for funding, and also helped me to run a mentoring scheme. So once you get to know research volunteers who are so willing to help, you get to know about all their history and what they're great at, and you can really use their skills in your everyday work. And these are some examples of activities the research volunteers help us with. They review research applications for us when we have funding calls, so as well as the applications being reviewed by other researchers and scientists at peer review. The applications will also go to our research network, and I have a diagram in the next slide that shows this. And the research network will be looking at these applications with a different lens to the scientists. They will be looking to see if the work is relevant to women affected by ovarian cancer, and if the applicant has considered their research for a participant's point of view. They also review research materials that will be used in trials and studies to make sure they're appropriate for participants, for example, patient leaflets and questionnaires. And they can also be included in research strategy development at OCA, and for media activities as well, such as giving interviews or being in a blog post, which will help to raise awareness and promote our work. We don't require that everyone does media work for us. It's those individuals that are really keen to or have experience to, so that they're happy to do it. And referring back quickly to reviewing our research applications, this is how we fund research at OCA. So we open a research funding call. We say we want scientists to submit applications on, say, new treatments, and we receive those applications. We then send it off to our research network for lay review, as well as sending it for peer review with scientific experts. We then collate the reviews from both of these sides and take it to a final committee meeting, where all the feedback from the research network is fed up on an equal level and is considered. And this is really important because we need this views and information from the research network, as they are experts by experience, to help us to make the best research funding decisions. So why is patient and public so important to us? If I had to sum it down to one sentence, it would be making sure we are spending supporters' donations on the best research that will have the biggest impact for women affected by ovarian cancer. So my job at OCA, I'm the research grants and impact manager, and I manage the research network, and I kind of see this as my job as well. I make sure that we are spending donations on the best possible research. So I help to facilitate the research funding process and also coordinate the research network to make sure that this is happening. And this was once seen as a tick box exercise by researchers, but they're now recognising the benefit of including patients and the public in their research processes. The patients and public provides invaluable insight from a completely different lens from a researcher. And including these groups means that research is kept relevant to the people who will potentially benefit from it. Patient and public involvement in research also encourages transparency and accountability in research, and this is especially important for charities like us who fund research, who want to ensure they are spending donations on the work that will have the most impact, like I said before. So I asked our members why being a research network member is so important to them, and I had some really wonderful replies, which I think sums up how including them in our work benefits the individual volunteer, our work, and the research as well. And I'd like to point out that I will be talking about their experience of having cancer treatment, and there's some mention of infertility, so please feel free to tune out if this could be upsetting to you. So this is the lovely Catherine, and I'm going to read what she sent to me. So she said, I have worked on some research papers looking at how easily someone who has ovarian cancer might understand the way the researchers explain their pitch for funding. I also looked at information that was proposed to be given to newly diagnosed ovarian cancer patients to see if the tone was right. It made me feel useful and involved, as though I still had a brain and was a functioning, useful member of society and had a purpose. I also hoped it would be of help to those coming after me. I was also asked to talk to a research student about how having surgery and chemo during COVID affected me. I wasn't as sure how useful this was, but it was interesting to discover that for me, at least, in some ways COVID helped, allowing me to avoid travelling to London for scans and consultations, and have done it locally or by phone instead. I think it's empowering to involve patients in research, and I strongly believe in finding out as much as possible about the potential treatments available and being discovered. My particular type of ovarian cancer is particularly rare, so it's vital for me to know what's emerging across the world in terms of new treatments, as so much for me is experimental. I feel it also gives back some sense of control and feeling of usefulness in a world where it's easy to go out of control and that your life has less meaning than before. Being involved in research decisions is vital as we patients understand firsthand the effect of getting a diagnosis of cancer, the anxiety of waiting for scan results, and what going through treatments is like for both the individual and the family and friends around us. We have to make decisions on treatment, and that's why we should all know as much as possible. I'm a strong advocate for patient involvement in research, and hearing feedback like this really hits home to me why it is so important and spurs me on to think how we can continually do it better. And I think Catherine really just summed up beautifully why research involvement is so important. And I thank her for sharing her experience of being a Research Network volunteer. I also had a response from another of our fantastic research volunteers, Alex. And Alex is a superstar and she does so much for us. And she said, I was diagnosed as part of elective surgery and I was given a life-changing operation to save my life. It wasn't until after my treatment that the medical team could confirm that I had been stage 1 and no further treatment was necessary. I lost my reproductive system before I had the chance to use it. Admittedly, I was in my late 30s, and it was by no means a done deal on the parenthood front. But if there'd been a more subtle way to reach the same conclusion, I may have been able to have my own family. I am very lucky to be here. My ovarian cysts and misdiagnosed IBS and endometriosis actually saved my life. I had to fight to get treated, and I'm very glad I did. If OCA can continue to support the development of less radical treatments and early stage screening tools, it means that women like me will become a thing of the past. It's important to me that no one should have to decide their reproductive future in such an urgent and alarming way. If my voice helps OCA raise funds for this work, then my experience has value and is no longer tragic but a message of hope. The knowledge that my experience will not have been in vain, knowing that by telling my story, I'm helping others to understand the symptoms, their rights, and enlightening the medical community on the things they can focus on to change the future for women who find themselves in similar circumstances. As a survivor, I am best placed to understand the treatment on offer and what needs to change. Having gone through the experience of treatment, I am able to inform about the ways in which treatment can be kinder, what approaches work for me, and how I have overcome the inevitable fallout from such a diagnosis. If I can influence research into the root causes of these conditions, I might be able to help in preventing them for future patients. So again, Alex has very beautifully summarised how her experience of ovarian cancer could help OCA to raise awareness and fund the right research that will help other women in the same situation. And research isn't just about, the basic biomedical lab work. You also have research that could help change policy and practice further along down that research pipeline, and patients and the public can also influence that side of research as well to really make impactful changes that will have a benefit, and in particular diagnosing women with ovarian cancer earlier and getting them more effective treatments. Patient and public involvement also has massive benefit for researchers, as it's helping to make their research more impactful. And these are some reasons I mentioned earlier on. This is one of our funded researchers, Professor Ahmed. He's from the University of Oxford. He's a really exciting and innovative scientist in ovarian cancer research, and we fund his work in early detection and treatment. And I asked him how do you benefit from patient and public involvement? And he responded, I think including the opinion of patients and public is important, particularly for translational researchers like me. They can identify priorities that may not be immediately obvious. One key area where my research benefited from patients and public involvement is that it helps my research team to realise how valuable their research is and how their work can touch the lives of others. And by translational, he means his research takes scientific discoveries in the lab into practice and patient care, whether that is new treatments or diagnostic tools. And I like how he summarised that, because I think researchers do their research because they want to make a difference. But I think when you're, in your lab all day or in your office, and you're dealing with, the numbers and the stats, I think it is easy to maybe get detached from the people that you want to help, not for any fault of their own. And involving patients and the public in their work and in their day-to-day work, I think can really just bring it back to a research team, why they are doing it. And in my experience, when I've worked with patient reps and researchers and facilitated that relationship together, you can't underestimate the patient representatives, because they come up with ideas that the researchers may not have thought about. They pick things out that researchers might have missed, and they really do add so much value. And even with no scientific background, they can come at a problem or an issue in the research, maybe that the researcher is struggling with, from a completely different point of view, and really help the research team to problem solve. So they do add a tremendous amount of value. So I've got through what I wanted to get through mainly very quickly, but we can have some questions now, and we did have one in advance, so I'll just answer that for you. So someone asked, mucinous ovarian cancer is a very under-researched area, leading to a poorer prognosis. Having been diagnosed myself last year with this cancer at 25, is anything being done within the charity to help this? So mucinous ovarian cancer is a very rare subtype of epithelial ovarian carcinoma. And we do fund a researcher called Dr. James Flanagan. And we fund his project where he wants to understand how lifestyle factors can cause the biological changes that lead to an increased risk of ovarian cancer. So his project's called the Risk and Prevention Project. And epigenetics is an area of biology that describes the modifiable changes in gene regulation that does not involve changes in the DNA sequence. And in his project, he is including mucinous cases when looking for these epigenetic risks. So he is looking at this type of cancer as well. So I hope that answers your question. And then we've had some. I have signed up to be a research advocate. What happens next? Does the charity get in touch? And also, when is your next research call? So I'll answer those first. So you can sign up on our website or by emailing me, and I'll have my email at the end. So what will happen is you'll sign up, and then what I like to do is to have a phone call, or if they're not comfortable with a phone call, just a chat over email, just to get to know them, know their story and their history, if they're comfortable sharing that. And also I'd like to hear what kind of things they would like to do, because the main thing with our research network is we build the experience around your needs and your circumstances. So there's never any pressure to do all the activities we sent you. We send you what you can do and what you want to do. And if you need to take a break at any time for any reason, that's absolutely fine. So I want the network to work around the people involved. And then after that call, we've developed a volunteer handbook, which lays out everything you need to know about the role. And what would be expected, some tips and guidance on the activity, so how to do the lay review, and also give some background about ovarian cancer research, our researchers, and the type of research we fund as well. And then we will send you activities over email, and it's up to you whether you want to do those. So if you don't do them and you don't respond, that is not a problem at all. I'll keep sending you things, but there's no obligation to complete stuff. And it might be that you can't due to, you know, life or your health, or it might just be something might not interest you, because a lot of the activities are quite specific maybe to cancer types, and it might not fit your experience. So it's completely up to you. And sometimes I have members who will message me and say, I need to take 6 months out of the network, you know, due to personal circumstances, and that's absolutely fine. I'll usually check in with them again in 6 months' time and see how they're doing. So, and when is your next research call? So our last research call was in 2019. It was our immunotherapy call. So immunotherapy is a type of treatment where you use your own immune system. You find ways to boost it, which you can then use to treat cancer patients. And it's commonly used with chemotherapy to make it more successful. And there's lots and lots of different types of immunotherapies. And we do actually have a webinar in a few weeks on immunotherapy, so please join if you're interested. And we funded several projects through that, which will be starting soon. But of course, due to COVID, it's been a difficult year. So we are focused at the moment on starting those new projects which have been delayed. And hopefully in the near future, we will have some more projects to fund. But in the meantime, there's still a lot of activity for the research network. So we take requests from researchers that we don't fund, if they need help in their research, like the activities I've mentioned. So we have opportunities like that in the meantime. And then thank you, Sarah, for your questions. I'll get back to you on that last one. Are you actively looking for more volunteers for the network? Yes, so we have a great group, but I'm always open to new members joining, and I'll give you information a bit of how to join, but I'm really happy to have a chat with you if you want to find out more about the network and what it entails. Are there any more questions? You can ask me anything you like. Great. I think that's everything. So I've kind of whizzed through that quite quickly, but I hope it gave you some good insight into how we involve the patient voice in our work, and a bit about our research network. And again, what Alex and what they sent in, I think really beautifully illustrated that. And if you'd like to get more information or join the network, you can give me an email on my email displayed here, or if you type into Google Ovarian Cancer Action Research Network, you'll find a page where you can sign up. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you all have a lovely evening.